Ralph Breaks the Internet is the new sequel to the 2012 Disney movie Wreck-It Ralph. If you need a little refresher, the original was about the character Ralph, a bad guy in an arcade platformer game called Fix-It Felix. When the arcade is open and the game turns on, Ralph does what he was made to do and wrecks the building, while the player uses Felix to, well, fix it. The only problem is, even when the arcade is closed and the game characters are left to their own devices, the townspeople still treat Ralph like a villain and constantly exclude him from their parties and activities. Frustrated with his role as a bad guy, Ralph spends the rest of the movie looking for another game where he can be a hero and finally be appreciated. In the process, Ralph gets stuck in a cutesy, Japanese-style racing game called Sugar Rush, where he meets Vanellope. She's a glitch in the game, and as a result of this, another reject like Ralph. The two end up forming a partnership over mutual goals, and by the end become best friends. After all of this is said and done, Vanellope is revealed to be the main character of the game and takes her rightful spot as a racer, while the Fix-It Felix characters learn that Ralph's role as a bad guy doesn't mean that he's an awful person, and he can still be a hero off-screen. So the first movie is about the adventures of video game characters in an arcade, but what happens when you send some of them to the internet? Well, a lot of stuff, so let's get unpacking. First, I'll talk about what I liked. I will admit I was a little bit wary going into this movie. I was excited about seeing the references and the meta humor and all of that stuff, but I was worried that the cameos would feel forced or awkward. Luckily, this didn't happen. Most of the cameos, especially the princess scene, were well thought out and made sense. The writers seemed to know these characters well, and they weren't just throwing them on screen to make you say, "Hey, I know that character." Speaking of competent writing, I was glad the writers had some understanding into what the modern internet is actually like. The jokes that made fun of the quirks of internet culture all worked well and landed nicely. Also, it was nice that they actually referenced brands and websites by their names instead of calling it like ChatSnap or Goggle or Bookface, whatever that's supposed to mean. I mean, I know other movies and TV shows would do this too, but they're not drowning in money like Disney, so they can't spend it all buying the rights to brand names. Another thing I liked about the movie was the creativity. This movie explored many different concepts of the online world, and it handled all of them really well. The character designs were super fun to look at in this movie, and the way they portrayed different internet activities in real-world terms was really interesting. And as always, things like the art, animation, music, dialogue, and voice acting were all very good in this movie, but that's kind of expected from Disney. Also, here's just a few random things that I liked, but I couldn't fit into one category. There's a chase scene between Vanellope and this girl Shank in the GTA-styled game Slaughter Race, and it is awesome. It's like one of the most exciting chase scenes I've ever watched. It's not too flashy and it has some actual adrenaline pumping action in there. I'm honestly not sure why I liked it so much, but I did, and I bet other viewers will too. Also, there's this character called Yes who represents the algorithm of a YouTube-esque site, and I liked how they changed her outfit frequently to show how what's trending is always changing, and things become popular by random online. But no movie can be perfect, and I still have a few criticisms. First, I was a little disappointed that Felix and Calhoun didn't get to do very much. They were in it for like 10 minutes at the beginning and only showed up for a little bit at the end. I know that this movie wasn't really about them, and maybe the writers felt they didn't want to change them too much as characters, but I was kinda hoping we'd get a subplot with them, and we could switch back and forth between Ralph and Vanellope and Felix and Calhoun, kind of like in the last movie. Though, this is more of a minor complaint, and I really think that the movie might be worse if the writers actually made a subplot with Felix and Calhoun. Another problem I have with this movie is the ending. Look, I enjoyed the message of even best friends may go separate ways, and the movie handled it pretty well, until the finale. They literally have a monster called the Insecurity Virus use Ralph's overprotectiveness to create a horde of Ralph zombies that form into one giant Ralph that captures Vanellope and demands she becomes his best friend. I know that Disney's main target is kids and they want to make the morals of their movies easy to understand, but the whole evil giant Ralph thing just shoves the message down your throat too much. Also, let's talk about Ralph in this movie. I personally felt like the writers made him act really stupid. Like, surprisingly stupid. Ralph has always been a more impulsive character, and he doesn't always think about the consequences of his actions, like when he suddenly abandons his game to go and become a hero. But this version of Ralph is just an awful person. Yes, he can't let Vanellope go, and that leads him to make a lot of mistakes in the movie, but I feel like even if he was hurt by her decision, Ralph would care too much about Vanellope to make such a rash decision to destroy the game she was in. He even had a whole speech in the last movie about how he would sacrifice himself to save Vanellope's life. Ralph is definitely overprotective of Vanellope, but I think the lengths he goes in this movie to keep her from leaving just doesn't fit his character and ignores the aspect of Ralph that puts Vanellope's needs first. Another problem I have with the ending is how it completely ignores the rules set from the first movie. Wreck-It Ralph's entire conflict is caused by Ralph leaving his game because he doesn't like the role that he plays. Vanellope experiences some of the same feelings. She feels unsatisfied with how predictable Sugar Rush has become, and she wants to do something new. But instead of realizing that everyone's job is important and that she should make the best of what she has, Vanellope abandons her game to join Slaughter Race, and with no consequences at all. Wasn't going turbo and leaving your game a huge taboo in the first movie? To try and cover this up, the movie has Vanellope argue that the roster of Sugar Rush is so big no one will notice her missing, and Shanks says she programmed Vanellope into Slaughter Race so she could live there and not be seen as a virus. First of all, there are clearly a lot of kids who favor Vanellope, as Ralph literally says this in the first movie.
And the players love her, glitch and all.
And we see two girls who love Vanellope in this movie. Being the star of the game, there's no way she can just slink off unnoticed, and now Vanellope has doomed Sugar Rush to getting unplugged. Not to mention that a chibi-styled candy girl like Vanellope is going to look very out of place in a gritty game like Slaughter Race. Sure, Shank may have added her code into the game, but some players bound to take notice and contact the developers, who are then going to assume Vanellope's a virus and delete her from the game. Either way, Vanellope's decision goes against any of the rules set up in the first movie, and her moving into Slaughter Race would not work as smoothly as the movie thinks it would. Ralph Breaks the Internet has its problems, but overall it's still an enjoyable and satisfying sequel. The plot holes and lack of subtlety can be hard to sit through sometimes, but the exciting visuals and fun characters help make up for it. Basically, don't let my criticisms prevent you from going to see it. It's still a great movie. And that wraps up my review. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see other movie reviews. I'll see you all next time. Bye!